to part 2 of me doing Billie Eilish's song Bad Guy. So this is a saxophone cover. Now this cover has been trending, seen millions of views. I'm just teaching you how to break down this cover for the alto saxophone. Now, recap of part 1. In part 1, we learned what is the main riff of this Bad Guy tune, which is Bad Guy, which is this. So that is actually the main riff. Bad guy, bum 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 bum. So refer to part 1 to learn that part. Now we're going into part 2 of this. So in part 2, I'm just going to play the lead up into part 2 with that bum bum bum, right, bit. Now again, I can sync this up with the lyrics. That's a whole different ball game. If you want me to do that and give you really a deeper breakdown, starting with the singing of the song, understanding of the song, and the rest to put it onto the sax, which you do need to do to really get the nuances of the song and the style. It may not be a hard song, but nuance is everything here. Put suggestions in the comments below and I'll get that done for you. But right now, we're just going straight for the cover, right? Of course, refer to my playlist where you'll actually see 2 versions of the song in which she's singing it. Now, let's get back to the B section. So I'm going to play the lead up, right? So that what we call the A coda, that bam, 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 right? Which is just a bit at the end of the A section. Then I will hit you with the B section. So it's... Now, that is the B section, right? Now, at this point, articulation is important, particularly in all pop covers. Now, what pop covers actually test is that they seem simple, but they're not really simple in the sense that you're asked to articulate a lot more, particularly on the saxophone, because the saxophone is the closest instrument to the human voice. So I'm just going to break this down, and we're actually going to look at notes first. Then I'm going to actually speak about that articulation. We get a da 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 da, right? And in fact, I would tongue more. Now, you'll have to understand that on this particular mouthpiece, which is a classical mouthpiece, this is actually a Salma concept mouthpiece. I have to do a lot more in terms of articulation and the rest for it to come out, because of the fact that the mouthpiece doesn't have a very open tip opening. Now, don't worry if you don't know what that means. If you do know, I mean, those guys are a bit more advanced from you. What it simply means is that the distance between the reed and the top of the mouthpiece is very narrow in this mouthpiece. So I've decided to use this because for most of you guys starting out, you will have a setup like this. Now, if you want to do, if you look at the guys carefully in the covers, when you see them getting more wilder sound effects, particularly the difference between vibrato and the growl, which is instead of, you go, that's the growl, okay? But you'll notice that they differ between growling and vibrato, which is just a small little nuance which they did. And both covers, in one cover which is done by the Mexican gentleman, he is using vibrato. In the other cover done by Daniele, which is this top, you know, pop saxophonist in Italy, he's actually using a growl. But in order to get that effect, they have a very open mouthpiece. So if you're looking at yourself and saying that, you know, is this going to affect the way the cover sounds when I'm playing this? Don't worry too much about this, okay? Because the fact of the matter is you can still growl and vibrato using a small tip opening. However, this will actually teach you how to get that growl under control when you get more money to buy a bigger mouthpiece, okay? So let's just go through it. Now we'll talk about, first one, we're doing a B to a E, right? So that's the first part of the riff, simply quarter notes or crotchets. And try to really get that articulation. It's da da, not da da. So it's B, E, G, A, A, G, B, E. So that's just the first part of the B riff. Second part is just the same, right? And the third part is just the same. So you're going to go. So that's the first part of the B riff. So let me just play that again. And the notes again are B, G, G, A, G, B, E, G, A, G, B, E, G, A, G, B, E. Okay? So if I do it at speed, don't think you have to do it as fast as I'm doing it, you know, because I'm a pro. But I would take it to look at it this way. And this is the thing about perception of speed. The stronger you articulate, the faster it will sound. I'll give you an example. So if I just go, it sounds muggy. It doesn't really sound as though it does. But if I really articulate and go, it sounds much faster and much brighter. Now that's that first section. Now we're going into the next section, which is in the middle. After going through that repeated pattern, which is ba 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 ba, right? So it really goes for about 3. You do it for 3. So that means that note, repeated pattern. So quarter notes, repeated pattern, quarter notes, repeated pattern. So that you understand where I'm coming from. These are the quarter notes. Repeated pattern is. You do that 3 times. Then you rest, and the rest is important. Then comes what I call the lead up back into that, right? Which is so that whole bit right there, right, is kind of the finishing off of the B section. So you still got the ba 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 ba, so it's G, A, A, G. But what's happened is that we switched it around, okay? And the switch around is that instead of us going down to the E, right? The B is in the second beat. On the first beat is a high D. So it will sound like this. So I'm playing this again because that ba ba be ba is important that you get that, and that actually tells you that you've changed over to the second section of the B section. So it goes. Now this end of the B section should be anything new to you. It's simply speaking to something which we had in the A section. Okay, that's your F sharp, G, F sharp, E, D. Now you had that in the A section. So it's simply your F sharp again, 2 quarter notes or 2 crotchets. And that's just a syncopation. Ba 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 ba. It's easier if you just sing it and play it, and I'll show you how to play the backing track. So if we take that whole thing together, right, which is just the B section, the B chord, the B section, the second part of the B section, it goes. Okay? Now, I would like you to sort of work on that section, okay? So we're doing it section by section. Now, there's not a lot of hard things in this section, but again, this is where it's deceptive with a cover, because we have to play it at speed, and you're playing it at a backing track, and the backing track is relentless, it keeps going. So what I say you need to focus on is being able to articulate strongly. Don't worry about tuning. You will tune up as you go on, but the articulation is important. In other words, each note is separate to give that pop feel. So you're going, and I'll play the whole thing through, right, before I end this video. It goes like this. So focus on the articulation. Focus more or less on the rawness of the or the intensity, the percussive nature of the sound. Because as bad as it may sound to you, right, the audience really will get into the groove with that. Remember, you need to do more. Because in the actual song itself, her voice is isolated, that's Billie's, and it's soft. So you may be thinking to yourself, why don't we play it softly on the saxophone? Because when you are doing a translation of a cover, remember it's a translation. In other words, we're bringing out certain elements of it. Because the track behind it with the heavy bass is coming at the back of the backing track, you are now bringing out the song even more by bringing out its percussive qualities. When Billie sings it, we're hearing the softness of her voice, the irony which is in there, right? And that sort of isolation which is created very well by Finnis, her brother. However, when we're playing the cover, we're bringing out the percussive nature of the vocal. In other words, how the vocal matches up with the beat. So it's a bang, 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 right? And that is what actually makes this cover pop. So you'll see that in a few of these cover tracks, you'll see that this method is used a lot. That you'll think that, oh, we should be playing this softly. But no, we actually should be giving it a bit more willy, as we say in the UK. That way it actually comes out a lot more. So remember to play through this B section so that you get it tight. And remember, this is Tulane Akinji Deobonyo, to play your sax now, but more importantly, play this tune now.